Hello everyone. Today we're going to be talking about um, probably the biggest misconception that I've found in the world of VCG, and I wanted to address it because it's pretty egregious in my opinion. Um, and the reason that it has stayed in the game so long, excuse me, I have a cold, throat hurts, so I have to drink extra water, but it is the ever presence of Jett, KO, and Gecko on this map. And it doesn't infuriate me. That's what I was going to say. It doesn't. It's just not true. But it does annoy me because I don't think that it's very good, but I think people keep playing it because everyone else keeps playing it. So I did want to introduce this new idea to some people, and I hope it changes your mind. We're going to go from most egregious to least egregious, starting with Jett to KO, then Gecko. Jett should be pretty short. In the case of Jett, there are very few things that you get from Jett that are an advantage to you that you can't get with other agents. Um, Yellow is one of them. This is the one spot where I would say yes, if you want to play up here 12 rounds in a row, sure, you can play Jett and op here. That's not a bad strategy. But when you start getting countered by Sova Drone and Viper Molly and all that shit, and that just starts coming at you, Yellow, and you just back up and be useless, right? I guess you can dash here, I guess, sure. Then, sure, I guess you can do that, but when compared to the other agents that you could bring on this map, it's not very useful. And you might say, Rocket, I need an entry. Do you? The only reason I would pick Jett on this map is if I have an exceptional duelist on my team. If I am playing with Zekken or Aspas or Demon 1 and they want to play Jett, sure, go right ahead. It is probably more beneficial to my team if the best player in the world is playing a duelist where, sure, they can get a little more aggressive, take fights that they maybe shouldn't, but it's probably likely that they're going to win them because, well, they have incredible aim. Sorry, but the likelihood that you are one of those three people watching this video is 0, okay? Because they're blacklisted. So if you're watching this video, you're not them. Um, it's more beneficial to you to just learn the agents, and I can explain them to you. I'm totally down for that. Um, but those agents will provide way more value to you than a Jett could. Just to prove my point, you don't need an entry on this map. The choke points are so wide that there's never a need for you to get out quickly and like create this space like this. Cool, it's cool that you can do that, but especially Icebox is the most egregious example of this, but we unfortunately are in a post plant, retake, plant meta, right? Just with all the sudden rise of Gecko because all of the other initiators have been nerfed to the ground and all of that stuff, right? Molly still being good, all of that, especially on Icebox. Having that entry is less important in a meta where we are trying to accomplish something else. Sure, on a map like Ascent, or Bind, or Split, having that entry is very important, and I would never sacrifice having a raise over a different agent like that can't dash out onto site, right? That's very important to me. But we're not playing Split, Ascent, or Bind. We're playing Icebox, and the chokes on Icebox are massive. I promise you, you don't need an entry for these um, sites. And we see this on when teams don't play Jett, when they're playing the no duelist comp, and they still have success. They're still able to get out of the chokehold. They don't just die like 100 Thieves did with no duelist on Ascent, if you remember that. Unlucky. This map is, the chokes are huge. You don't need the entry. You can play Reyna. No, don't play Reyna, but you could. You you don't need the Jett on this map. And I think it's egregious that people are still playing her. Unless you are Woot, Aspas, or someone like that, don't don't play Jett. I promise you, you're gonna get way more value out of playing other agents. The second most egregious.
30 seconds left.
Okay. The second most egregious agent in that I see that's like really bad is KO. We're gonna go through all of his abilities. First of all, if you're picking KO for his mollies, please quit the game. You're terrible because there are so many better options. KO's molly is horrible for multiple reasons. One, look at that area. That area is shit. Two, that molly does not last that long. I could run a. Never mind. I'm not making that joke. Two, the damage is shit. Four, it only ticks like 5 times, and it doesn't even deal that much damage because you can timing it, right? It's not omnipresent, right? You can get in and out and not take any damage because it's fucking terrible. But it's terrible on all maps except Ascent. It's actually good on Ascent. Let's move on to his actual redeeming qualities. Chaos Flash is really good on a map like Ascent in the case where you have a Jett because getting out of those choke points is fairly important. On this map, like I said already with Jett, that's not that important, okay? You don't need the flashes to force your way on the site because you could just clear these angles with drone and dart and then slowly work your way up. And when you have a Sage, you don't even really need a take site because you could just wall plant and then play like that. So, having these flashes isn't really that important. Second, flashes on this map geometrically are terrible. There's 3 things that you need for a good flash. 1, it flashes your enemies, no duh. 2, doesn't flash you or your team. Or 3, it's not obvious. That last point is really important on this map. So let's say I do throw a flash like this. Flashbang. Now obviously I'm terrible at the game, but if I were a normal human being, I would be very easily able to react to that and turn. There's not many flashes on this map like there are on Ascent, where you are able to create lineups like this. This is the only one on this map that's useful. And I missed it. That's how bad it is. It's inconsistent. The point is it's supposed to go over the generator. I mean, I'll throw it a little lower. You get the idea. But you can't even throw it consistently. The map, geometrically, is just not meant for KO. The flashes are not very good. There are a lot of angles that you could just hide from the flash or play anti-flash off of. And it's detrimental to your team if you are throwing flashes and they're not working, right? Because they get the wrong idea. The bounce is terrible. It just doesn't work on this map. You don't need it, and it's not supporting teammates that even exist because, like I said, Jett is not good on this map. You're not going to get any value or worthwhile value. Now you might say, Rocket, the suppression is really good, and I agree. If we were playing Ascent. Again, here's the problem with KO suppression. KO suppression is very good at removing Killjoy and Cypher utility, right? If I'm playing Ascent on B and I get hit with suppression knife, I'm going to be really sad because, well, my turret's down, my mollies are down, it's all down. I'm dead now because I have nothing to swing off of because I got put B by myself. Now, that's really cool and it would be useful on an icebox if we needed it, here's the problem. You don't really need suppression to remove Killjoy utility on site because there is no Killjoy utility on site. A lot of the Killjoy utility on this map is just being used mid. It's being used in kitchen, and it's being used in pallet, right? So, what are you suppressing? Viper? Well, do you know where the Viper is? I hope you do. Hope your Sova cleared that out for you, or your Gecko, because you have that for some reason. But Viper could have just thrown her wall A and then gone B. And once you knife A, expecting the wall to go down, nothing happens because Viper's not there. She's still rotating. Her wall is still up for another 10 seconds. So your knife didn't do anything. Sure, and the ult has the same problem. You see this a lot on when you're playing KO for Cypher on a Sun. The Cypher will place his trips and then just play in CT so that he doesn't get KO ulted. And this is a very effective strategy because you just have someone else playing on site. This is the same thing for Viper, and it's the reason why Viper and KO don't really play against each other. It's pretty much mutually exclusive. You either see Viper on a map or you don't, or you see KO. Except for Icebox, where you see both. And there's a problem with that. So now we're going to move on to the least egregious offender, whatever you want to call him, Gecko.
30 seconds left.
Gecko is bad because, again, geometrically, he doesn't make any sense. There are two things I did want to show you, like this. This is a very good blind. It gains a lot of info. This is a very good wingman, and it's very safe, and it gains a lot of info. That's really cool. However, while Gecko is very useful in this map, and you could make the argument that you should play him, I do not think that. I think he is outclassed. I personally think he's outclassed. Now, you might argue that he's not, right? You might like the extra utility. You might think Thrash is really strong, and I would agree with you. Thrash is really strong. Even though he struggles vertically on this map, he can still be pretty strong. Here's the problem. If I send Wingman out here,
Get him, wingman.
if the enemy team is playing it correctly, Wingman is not going to survive. And here's the problem. I guarantee you, and I'll bet money, if you play against a team that doesn't, and beats you without having some sort of molly on this map, I'll give you reparations because I'm sorry, you're just terrible at the game, but that's besides the point. We saw this from Global Esports, now obviously not the best example, obviously, but still a good example. What they would do is they would just molly this as Viper. Now obviously I'm not playing Viper, but bear with me here. And then spam the wingman. And then they'd have to go for the replant and then they get spammed again. It doesn't matter if the wall's up. The Viper wall, I mean, doesn't matter. It could be Harbor wall, Viper wall. You're going to get spammed anyways from default. And then the Sova Dart's going to come in and then you're going to get spammed again. The reason why you wouldn't bring Gecko is because he's outclassed, unfortunately. He is very good on this map, but he's outclassed. Having that Sage wall, one, to physically block mollies that are coming in from the sky, from whatever, they're physically being blocked. Two, this spam isn't possible. And three, any swing outs like this are not possible because it's just Occam's razor. It's much safer if you just wall it off. Your wingman is way less likely to die if one, he's not in the game, or two, if you had a Sage planting instead. So it's just safer. Wingman, if you're countering him correctly, is just gonna die 9 times out of 10. But teams just focus on playing towards A and usually just don't get the mollies off in time. I don't know what that's about. You could don't ask me. Okay. I don't know why we're not countering this. It's very obvious where the wingman's coming in from, where it's going, all of that. It's not possible to protect. You just have to get lucky with your sprays. But with a Sage wall, none of that is a problem. Now obviously you can still get spammed, but it's kind of like the only thing they can do. Again, it's a lot safer. Um, I would have loved to play Sage and Gecko, and then played Viper, Sova, Killjoy. But with the nerfs to Viper, I don't think that you can play Viper honestly without ensuring that the wall stays up and gambling all of that timing stuff. And it would just be more convenient to just bring a harbor and then re-smoking that, because that harbor utility can be super oppressive if you're trying to push out of. Even if you do have that KO on your team, flashing out of those smokes is horrible because of the slowness effect that you get from the harbor cascade and high tide. So, and again, Cove is just another way to protect your Sage. The spam is not gonna. There is no spam. He's just gonna. The Sage is gonna survive the plant versus your Gecko wingman. That's just a bot, and he's just gonna die and just do nothing. But teams don't realize this because they're just playing Gecko for Gecko, and no one's really experimenting with this comp because I don't think I've seen it played yet once. We've gotten close. G2 have played it, but other teams just fail to recognize that these things just are not working, and we're just coin flipping the map to see who has better aim when we could be playing it a lot better. I don't think I need to show Harbor Tech because I already showed that. There is one lineup that I did want to show as Sage because I do think that is important.
30 seconds left.
Not important, but there are things that on Sage that you can do that are a lot better than your other teammates, right? This orb is really good for yellow. It slows all of yellow. You can slow on top if you aim a little bit above the star. But again, when I'm planting on B, this is just way safer, right? Now, obviously, this guy could jump on the wall, but if that's happening to you and your green player isn't shooting him, just report your whole team. That's not even your fault, okay? Your team just sucks. There's no getting around it. Your team is just terrible. They're forced to break the wall, and then when you put your Harbor Cove on top of it, it's virtually unbreakable, and you get a free plant every time. And then you can play your post plant, whatever, bullshit. But it's consistent, okay? You're not gambling this shit with the wingman and versus getting spammed and then throwing 14 mollies at you. You're blocking those mollies, and it's much harder to that wall breaks quick, but it doesn't matter because you only did it for 4 seconds. Again, um, it's great on defense too. You might say, well, I'll just use the wingman. Or I could do this, and then wall, and then defuse like that. Sure, you can have your autonomy, but does your autonomy matter if he's dead? No. Just have your Sage wall. This is objectively better. And there's also Sage orbs that you can do backside. Are yellow and green that are way more beneficial than anything you could have with Jett. But people don't want to play it because Sage is boring. And I get that. Your preference matters, is what I would say if I was a big pussy, but I'm not. Please just try it out. I promise you that it's worth it. Now, the digression, you're gonna have to play a lot slower than you are with your KO Jetts Gecko shit. Because, well, one, you only have one scan, you have one information character, and two, you're really focused on those rechargeables. This is a war of attrition comp where you're trying to starve the enemy of their utility so that you can force your own onto them. It's definitely a different play style, but it's more consistent. You're going to get a lot more rounds, a lot more wins if you're playing like this, and it's pretty unstoppable because there's no real counter except getting lucky, and that's pretty much it. But a lot of luck is taken out because of the, well, Occam's razor, just a lot simpler than all of the extra variables that you have with Gecko and KO. So I genuinely think this comp is a lot better, and I think a lot of teams are missing out on a little bit of improvement in their lives. If you watch this whole video, thanks for watching. I know it was a longer one, but I really appreciate if you watched the whole thing. If you didn't, go fuck yourself. you're not even hearing this, so I hate you. It's fine. Whatever. Like, comment, subscribe. I don't care. But thanks for listening if you did. Have a great day.